Welcome everyone to my channel. This is Bruce the Boss Brooks, and please don't forget, if you're new to the channel and or you're not yet subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Also smash on that like button. Comment on this video, helps with the algorithm as we are dealing with a purge that is definitely trying to suppress any and all alternative voices that doesn't adhere 100% to the blue check marks, as I have already been suspended twice for not adhering 100% to left-wing talking points when posting videos. So it goes a long way with helping independent voices like this have a voice on the massively controlled social media platforms. But with that being said, Texas and Florida is in the news today for their success and the bewilderment of many of those blue check marks regarding their success post-COVID restrictions being lifted in those various states. But before we get into that, I do want to promote the fact that my brother and I have once again signed up for the annual multiple sclerosis charity 100-mile bike ride called Bike MS City to the Shore, where we're trying to raise money for treatment and resources for those with multiple sclerosis. Here is the fundraising page for our team that we've started on the MS website. I am Bruce the Boss, and the name of our team is BS Fighting MS, which is an amalgamation of our last names, Brooks and Stam, Fighting MS. Here's the money we've raised so far. Just a little note on our story. So I'm cycling towards a world free of multiple sclerosis. I've signed up for Bike MS, a fundraising ride that changes the world for people affected by multiple sclerosis. I'm going the distance with my training and commitment, and I hope to count on your support as I prepare for this incredible experience. Multiple sclerosis is a devastating, unpredictable disease, but money raised through Bike MS fuels cutting-edge MS research and critical services to ensure people affected by multiple sclerosis have the resources they need to live their best life. So I know that COVID is obviously the thing that's dominating the discussion around the world, rightfully so, but there are still millions around the world and here in the United States that are still suffering from multiple sclerosis. Let's not forget about them and what they're going through. So we're doing this in order to help raise awareness and fund research and treatment for those suffering with multiple sclerosis. This is something we've been doing since 2014. Although I'll admit I did take 2018 and 2019 off, but I'm looking forward to getting back in the saddle and riding again. So if you can help us meet our goals and help raise funds for treatment, that would be greatly appreciated. I'll be more than glad to put the link to my donation page in the description box below. So Florida and Texas are trending right now because they are two of the 5 largest and most populated states in the union, and both have lifted 100% all state level COVID restrictions, and it's been met with some great success, especially when compared to other states of similar population sizes or comparable per capita rates. Their cases have been down, hospitalizations have been down. Florida's been open since September, so we're talking about over half a year, 7 months now, but I'll speak mostly to Texas because that's where I'm from, that's where I reside. Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, back on March the 10th, 2021, decided to lift all state level COVID restrictions, opening the state up 100%. That's 48 days ago? So we're talking about 7 weeks now. 7 weeks. All right. And just to clarify, what that means is that the state is no longer enforcing or requiring certain things to be done. And they are instead saying, you know what, you're all grown adults. You can decide for yourself what risks you want to assume, what things you like to do. Same with businesses. You can decide for yourself what actions or steps as a business you want to take or do in order to protect and hopefully grow your business, protect your employees and your customers. And in turn, your customers are free to decide then what risks they're willing to take, what businesses they're willing to support. Like, okay, here's business A, and they have goods and services that I like and or need, and they are doing X, Y, and Z. I'll go there and I won't go here. Or business B is not doing X, Y, Z. I like their policies, I support their policy, and they have goods and services that I also need. I'll support them, I won't go here. Or you know what, I I don't care. I'll go to both stores A and B. They both have things I like and or services and goods that I need. I'm more than willing to comply to the rules of store A. At the same time, assume the risk by going to store B and do what the Romans do, because I know what my risks are, what my chances are, and I'll accept that. They just gave people a choice, freedom to choose, freedom to decide, and freedom to decide what's best for them. That's all. And this is what the world essentially had to say. I'll play a couple of videos. This first one is from NBC News. Take a listen.
I do want to ask you about Texas and Mississippi and the decision there to lift all restrictions, including mask mandates. Now, with millions of people no longer being told they have to wear a mask, Texas on its own is a huge place with a lot of people who are going to travel in and out of the state. How much could this set the U.S. back as a whole?
Well, I think it's a big mistake to give up with mitigation at this early stage. First of all, we haven't hit herd immunity, which means it's unsafe to go out into crowds without wearing a mask and without social distancing and washing your hands frequently. I would, for example, never not wear my mask in my office with all of my patients, even though some of them have no symptoms whatsoever of COVID-19. So I think it's a big mistake, and I hope that we're keeping careful records in Texas and the other states that lift the mask to find out whether there's a bump up, which I expect there'll probably be. There'll probably be a bump up of several thousand new cases as soon as this mandate is lifted.
Oh, that is not good to hear. Dr. Lahida, also with President Biden saying there'll be enough doses for the entire adult population by May of the vaccine.
Now, that was NBC. All right, let's take a look at, what was this? Morning Joe on MSNBC, and what Joe and Dr. Fauci had to say in response to Texas and Mississippi opening.
I'm curious what advice you have for the good people of Texas and the good people of Mississippi who maybe be given some bad information right now by the leaders of their state.
You know, my strong advice to them, Joe, would be to actually continue to implement the public health measures. Now is not the time to pull back. The good news is that we have vaccines coming online. You saw the curve of the infections per day coming down, but over the last 7 days or so, we've reached a bit of a plateau where the deflection of the curve isn't going straight down the way it was. That's a bad sign. We've seen that before. We've seen that last summer when we were trying to so-called open up the economy and open up the country, when we said there were certain guidelines that you should adhere to. And as you know, there was variable adherence to those guidelines. And then we had that really big surge that we don't want to repeat now. I mean, we were going in the right direction. Now's the time to keep the foot on the accelerator and not pull off, because the thing that we don't want is yet again another surge. So I would advise the people of Texas and Mississippi to just abide by the public health measures that we talk about all the time: the uniform wearing of masks, physical distancing, avoiding congregate settings, particularly indoors, washing your hands frequently. We just have to keep doing that because we know it works.
Dr. Fauci.
Do we now? Do we know it works? All right. Here is the response from Texans just 2 weeks ago at the opening game of a Texas Rangers game. Let's look at some of the actions of what Texans are doing, because I can actually speak as a Texan. Just a couple of weeks ago, I went with family to, for the very first time for me, a small town called Fredericksburg, Texas, located about an hour north of San Antonio. Beautiful, quaint town, you know, large in size, a lot of visitors from all over the state and surprisingly different parts of the country as well coming to visit. Beautiful little city, and a sea of people I saw, and hardly no one wore a mask. And all of the businesses along the stretch of a very popular street there, tourist attraction, only one store had a mask requirement. All of the other stores, restaurants, whatever, come in, and like I said, I saw a sea of people, no mask. This is, I guess, true to Arlington, Texas as well. Take a look at how packed this place was for the Rangers game.
Sound. It is a full ballpark. Just about every section has fans in it this afternoon. Just about every seat. It was expected to be a sellout crowd for this first home opener, and though they haven't announced attendance yet, it looks like it probably is. It will be close to it. Masks are required as you look around the park. Distancing encouraged as people walk around. And fans we talked to told us they felt comfortable with the precautions that the team was taking. It was not quite the same party atmosphere outside the stadium today before the game, as tailgating was officially not allowed, but as they will, fans found a way.
Oh, it's history. You got a tailgate for opening day every year.
Not tailgating was not an option for Rangers fans, not on this day of all days. Despite no tailgating rules for the official parking lots for the Rangers home opener, fans found a way, paying up to $60 for a spot in private lots just across the street where they could spread out, set up, and do opening day the right way. We'll follow.
All right, so that's what Texas is doing, or has been doing. Now let's take a look to see how we have been doing since then. So this is our database or dashboard for the state of Texas. So as far as confirmed cases, which is this section here, we've actually been plummeting since January, which justified his reasons for saying, you know what, we're really looking good right now. Let's start to reopen. So let me bring the marker to March the 10th. Here we go. March the 10th, right here. So this is where we were about the time when he made the announcement. And this is where we are. Downward trend. Still continue to go down in new confirmed cases. Same with probable cases. Let's see here. This was... Here we go. March the 10th. As far as probable cases, right here, still not that bad, especially compared to at the start of the year. But again, as we continue to go on, as the weeks, again, we're 7 weeks in, going on, it continues to trend downward. Fatalities or deaths, again, has been plummeting since January, going down, really plummeting. But let me move the cursor to March the 10th. Here we go. So we were about right here when he made the announcement. And look, it's just nothing but a downward slope in fatalities. And here we are. One of the most important things we went into with the mindset since the start of the pandemic is let's flatten the curve and let's not overwhelm our healthcare professionals, hospitals, etc. That was the main point, not to overwhelm healthcare professionals and hospitals. So I was able to download from our website an Excel spreadsheet that was not only tracking cases, but more specifically, what you're seeing is hospitalizations by the day. Because again, whole point is not to overwhelm healthcare professionals. So here we're looking at a spreadsheet of hospitalizations by day. I have it highlighted here or marked off. Let me actually try to zoom in a little bit more for y'all. Just in case if anyone's having trouble seeing anything, let me just increase the view. There we go. No one should have any trouble. So I highlighted the starting point of where we were when the mandates were fully lifted back on March the 10th. Hospitalization through the COVID was looking at 4,406, which in a state of 29 million, if I'm not believed, Texas is 29 to 30 million. Hospitalizations only at 4,400 at that point in time. Not even close to being overwhelmed. And here's the trend. As the days went on, keep in mind, you're not going to really see anything as it relates to the restrictions being lifted for 2 weeks. So let's actually fast forward 2 weeks from March the 10th, which puts us at March the 24th, 3,410. So we're already down by like 1,000. Yep, 4,400, 3,410, a drop of 1,000. And it continued as the weeks progressed since the lifting of the mandate, continuing on a downward trend. There was one minor spike in hospitalizations back when was it April the 12th. And even still, it's 1,400 less than where we were at the start of the restrictions being lifted. But again, small uptick, but continually downward, till now we're at the point of being down 1,800 total hospitalizations since the restrictions were lifted. So that's the facts. That's where we're at by the numbers. So those are the numbers with Texas here. And why Texas and Florida are trending is because you have a mixture of, you have those who are very happy to see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that we can potentially return to some form of normalcy that is healthier and more sustainable over the long run. And then you have those on the other side that are pissed off or ticked that things didn't go the way they had hoped, that the numbers weren't as bad as they were hoping that they would be or predicted that they were going to be. This huge uptake, that more people didn't die or more people didn't get rushed to the hospital as a result, because what Texas and Florida have been doing has literally destroyed the entire narrative or justification for a lot of what is currently still going on or has been going on for the last year for those on the other side of the aisle. And they're mad. And they're throwing a temper tantrum because it's like they had to believe in something, and now we literally bursted their bubble. The idea that people can think for themselves is problematic. And let's just get one thing straight again. What the lifting of the restrictions in Florida and Texas have essentially done, it's not saying don't follow CDC guidelines. It does not say don't listen to your medical experts, your own personal doctor. All it's saying is that we, the state, will not enforce it. We, the state, will not dictate to you as grown adults, free individuals, free Americans, what you can and cannot do. We will leave that decision up to you to make, and to the businesses to decide what they want to do. And so if you want to follow CDC guidelines, wear a mask, get vaccinated, social distance, do whatever you want. However, if you are doing your research, listening to the healthcare professionals, your doctor, assessing whether or not if you are a demographic that is severe risk, and or you're willing to accept any and all risk that comes with whatever decisions you choose to do, that's okay as well. It's just all a matter of freedom, and they are upset. They are upset. Those in government positions and positions in power, I honestly believe, got drunk, a lot of them, off of all that power, having the ability and authority, so they thought, to say what you can and cannot do. It got so ridiculous, I believe in Michigan, for instance, Governor Whitmer had the nerve to say, if you own more than one home, you're not allowed to travel in between one residence to another, even if you're only going from your one home to your car, from the car to the second home, not interacting with anyone or stopping at stores. You didn't have the right to do that. Or even if you're already at Walmart, we're going to section off this side. You're already there, but we're telling you what you can and cannot buy. A lot of them got drunk off that power, and it was intoxicating. And they want to ride this like a dead horse until they can't ride it anymore. Or they're hoping they can ride it until eternity because it does politically benefit them. Those in the media, you've heard the term, if it bleeds, it leads. This pandemic has been nothing but an everlasting bleed fest that has been a ratings and viewership bonanza that they've been able to pretty much profit off of, and are literally trying to push. As you heard on MSNBC, all you heard was Joe Scarborough from Morning Joe saying, this is a really, really bad idea. Fauci, tell us to put full pedal to the metal in terms of these restrictions. And the other NBC host was just nothing but fear porn on, oh my God, I'm just so worried about this leading to another outbreak, and had a doctor on to support her fear that there was going to be an uptick in the thousands. And that has not happened. They've been really pushing this, and it's been benefiting them. And average citizens who are on the other side of that political aisle, because this whole thing has been politicized, have essentially been so accustomed to their servitude, so accustomed to the government telling them what they want to do. They love it and hate when anyone steps out of the box, steps out of their chains, and decides to want to think for themselves. But once more, it's also given them more political clout, because they've been able to then silence their political rivals, or those who do not fit into the box that they, or tribe that they have aligned themselves to. So if you've aligned yourself as a blue check Democrat, you've been able to use this pandemic to silence your anyone who didn't agree with you politically, and either report them and flag, try to fact check their information. And social media has been more than willing to oblige and censor any comments that are flagged and or don't go according to the mold 100%. So this has been very powerful and intoxicating power trip for the left, and they are upset that their bubble has been bursted. Essentially, here in Texas, we decided, you know what, we're going to decide for ourselves. We're going to do what we need to do. Yes, we'll wear masks when required by businesses, and or even if it's not required by businesses, but if you feel as though you're at risk, people will wear masks here in Texas, and then others will assess the risk for themselves and decide otherwise. They will pack out a stadium, as we saw in the Rangers game. That was over 2 weeks ago. They say it takes about 2 weeks to see major symptoms show up or develop. And I've already showed you the COVID database tracker, and 2 weeks has been up, and we're still on a downward trend in cases and hospitalizations since that Rangers game opening. So for all of the people pushing that fear porn, it's really bursted their bubble because they know now the gravy train is about to end. But ultimately, it's all about freedom. Freedom of choice, freedom to decide for yourself, freedom to look and research all the information and decide what you want to do for yourself. And people are starting to rise up against the overreach being made by those in power, in the government, in the media, in social media, and in the news. So that's all I have. And the funny thing is, another thing I noticed on Twitter is the only way the blue check marks can try to justify our success is by claiming that somehow we here in Texas or them in Florida are somehow not properly reporting, which is funny. In the aftermath of the 2020 presidential election, they were quick to make blame or label Republicans, conservatives, and even libertarians who were challenging the outcome as having unfounded opinions on what actually happened, and or unsubstantiated, I think was the word, and lies. And yet here they are saying, well, Texas and Florida must be underreporting. And they have no facts to back that up. There's been no evidence of any underreporting of any numbers here in Texas or in Florida. There have been allegations like, well, we think the numbers should be much higher based upon the propaganda we've been pushing. And yet it's not. It must be that they're underreporting with no facts to back that up. Now, who has been underreporting is, well, formerly beloved New York Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo. That has been proven. It had been proven that he was underreporting on the nursing home situation. This was a guy that they were crowning as the darling leader, an example of leadership during a pandemic. And come to find out, he was actually underreporting the nursing home deaths so that it wouldn't look bad on his mandated policy, a policy that was actually replicated by numerous Democratic governors, including Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, and Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. All had statewide mandates forcing nursing homes to take in COVID-positive patients, and not just people who used to live in a nursing home, not just the elderly who were there, but actually even young people who never lived in said nursing homes, but they were afraid of potential overflow in hospitals. Not that it actually happened in a lot of these states, but they were putting even young people into these nursing homes. If you haven't seen the YouTube video circulating, there was a young guy beating up an elderly guy in a nursing home, I believe, in Michigan, because, again, he was placed there due to the government mandate. They don't want to highlight the fact that it's been largely Democratic-run states and their governor that have really been messing this up. It's really become political because they want to highlight their side of the aisle, saying we've been doing it right, this is justification, we're doing it for your safety, all the while they've been the ones with the worst numbers, worst infection rates, with all of these restrictions in place. And yet it seems as though it's the Republican governors or Republican-led states that seem to be outperforming the Democratic-led states, and they can't handle that. They cannot handle the fact that the political party that they back is underperforming. So it has become political, unfortunately, but hopefully one day we can get past this. That's all I have on this. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you're not yet already subscribed. Like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Helps smaller channels like this to grow, thrive, and or have a voice for the people. This is Bruce the Boss Brooks, and I'm out. Peace.